All right, coaches, we're going to go ahead and get started on time. People are going to be trickling in, but I'd like to go ahead and take this time to introduce my co-host with over 4 decades in the game, an assistant for 2 national championship teams, a dynamic assistant coach, and also a successful head coach, leading UC Irvine to their only NCAA tournament appearance in 1995. She coached USA basketball, professional basketball with the Sparks, and worked in administration at UCLA as assistant athletic director. She served as secretariat for competition for women's basketball for the 1984 Olympics. And of course, my favorite, the technical advisor and consultant for the classic film Love and Basketball. Please welcome the resident legend and snack expert and music expert, Colleen Matsuhara.
Thank you, Matthew. Anyway,
and make sure you're muted if you're not talking.
The morning walk's a little less enjoyable.
There we go.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining, and I'm really excited about our speaker tonight because we used to be coaches at USC. We sat across from each other at the desk, and between Shannon and I think we had the most snacks in the office. I'll never forget, Shannon, you had those Totino's pizza rolls. That was way back when. But anyway, welcome everyone to the Growth Mindset Coaches Zoom. And I just want to tell you quickly about what having a growth mindset is. You have the belief that intelligence can be developed as if your brain is like a muscle that can be trained. Having a growth mindset means that we believe that our intelligence, creative abilities, and character can be improved in meaningful ways. This leads to a desire to improve by embracing challenges where we learn and get better at what we do. And that applies to coaching or in life in general. So in a growth mindset, people believe that their most basic abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. Brains and talent are merely the starting point. So with this in mind, a love of learning and resilience is created. Those who use a growth mindset worry less about looking smart and put more energy into learning as they tend to achieve more.
Be safe.
In contrast, if you have a fixed mindset, people believe that their basic qualities like their intelligence or talent are simply fixed traits. They spend their time documenting their intelligence or talent instead of developing them. They also believe that talent alone creates success without effort. And we know that's wrong, especially in coaching. So that is our growth mindset philosophy. And I'm hopeful that all of you embrace that and use that. Now, most of us use a little bit of both. But anyway, I'm going to move on. I'm a snack expert, a self-professed snackaholic. So I have 2 snacks to show you today. The first one is called Lesser Evil. It's popcorn. This one is the Himalayan salt one, and 3 cups are only 120 calories. There's 6 grams of fat, no cholesterol, and 4 grams of fiber, and there's 0 grams added sugar. So this is a very healthy snack. On the label, it says simple, lax, clean snacks. And I went to Sprouts and I bought it just to try what it says lesser evil. I figured it'd be less fattening, but it's delicious. This is my 3rd bag. They also come with this flavor. This is called Himalayan Gold. And this has butter flavored coconut oil with a dash of Himalayan salt. So I've got my little bowl here, Shannon. So when you're speaking, I'm going to pretend like I'm at the movies and I'll be having one of my snacks. And to top it off, I have something sweet, and these are called Trader Joe's apple caramels. These are seasonal. They're just little bite-sized candies here. Now, I can't eat this today in front of you because I have a toothache. I chewed on something too hard, but as opposed to the lesser evil, only 3 pieces make up 90 calories. And there's 16 grams of carbs in this, no fiber, and 10 grams of the sugar monster. So try it. You may like it. I'm always off looking for snacks, okay? So that are my music selections for today. That's the Walls Group, Don't, and You Don't Stop, okay? And then my last segment before we get to our speaker is I always give a little segment about women's basketball history. And today, because of Shannon's background, I want to talk about C. Vivian Stringer, who was her college coach, but Coach Stringer is a pioneer, a trailblazer, a visionary. She's a coaching legend. She coached for 50 years, 50, and she has over 1,000 wins. She recently retired in 2022 in the spring of last year from Rutgers University, where she coached since 1995. Coach Stringer is the first coach, male or female, to take 3 different schools to the Final Four. She began her coaching career at Cheney State in 1971, where she stayed there for 12 years. And she led the historically Black college to the first NCAA Women's Final Four in 1982. From there, Iowa came calling. So from 1983 to 1995, she was at the University of Iowa. And in 1993, they made the Final Four, although it was a little bittersweet because in the fall of that year, she lost her husband very suddenly. And then from Iowa, like I said, she went on to Rutgers. So in 2018, she reached 1,000 wins. She became the 5th NCAA Division I women's basketball coach to do so. She was, however, the first African-American women's coach to do so. In the 2019-2020 season, Coach Stringer became the NCAA record holder, having 37 seasons of 20 plus wins. As a result, she won that year the John Wooden Legends of Coaching Award, which was based on character, success on court, graduation rates of student athletes, and coaching philosophy. Coach Stringer was a member of the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame, inducted in 2001, the Naismith Hall of Fame, inducted in 2009, and recently the New Jersey Hall of Fame in 2020. She also was an assistant coach for the 2004 USA Olympic team gold medalist. So I want to pay tribute to Coach Stringer. She's a mentor to many of us, and I'm sure Shannon will have much to say about that. And Matthew, before we get started, I want to also give a shout out to another Bruin, Gina Prince Bythewood, who is the director for the current movie, The Woman King, that's starring Viola Davis. Gina's the director for Love and Basketball, and it's the first film since Top Gun Maverick to get an A+ cinema score. So shout out to Gina. And also want to thank Ann Myers for joining, 4-time All-American at UCLA. Hi, Annie. Okay, sorry. I didn't mean to just babble on. Go ahead, Matthew.
Thank you, Colleen. Love all the snacks and music. And man, your women's basketball history every single week is awesome, or every single session. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to introduce our fantastic guest today. And that's not every day that you get to guest star in something, so I'm going to give you a little introduction like we do here. A Southern California native, part of the Sensational Seven at Iowa as a player. She started her coaching career, obviously working for Hall of Famer Vivian Stringer after graduation. And after Iowa, went home to Southern California and was an assistant at USC, along with Coach Matsuhara. And then in the ACC at Duke, where she coached into the national title game in 2006, losing obviously in overtime to Maryland. After Duke, she took some time off from coaching and received a degree in pastoral leadership, I believe, and was lured back to UCLA 12 years ago to work with her great friend, Corey Close. A fantastic mentor of young women, a wonderful person, and an outstanding coach, and one of my favorite people in the world. Please welcome Shannon LeBeauf.
Thanks, Matt. Just thanks for the opportunity. I mean, this is, to me, we're all family here. And speaking of family, I have a lot of family on the phone and friends. But
Great.
definitely a shout out to the legend herself, Miss Annie Myers, and jumping on and, I mean, hopefully we'll get an opportunity to hear from her as well. So I think we're all here to learn. So I want to share, and I also want to glean from the rest of you all as well.
Okay, well, let's get started then, Shannon. I'm gonna start off. You played at Cerritos High School, and so as a native Southern California, what enticed you to go away to college to play at the University of Iowa?
Well, I think you said it. You just read Coach Stringer's bio, right?
Right,
So,
I figured that was a self-answering.
yeah, I mean, she was, at that time in particular, just one of the best to do it. And for me, it became home or away. It's do I, and the irony of it all is my final two schools came down to UCLA and Iowa. And it was a strong draw for me to go away and to grow and to figure things out on my own, but also just to learn and to play for such, at the time, just a living legend, right? She was one in the making, and I was excited to have for the opportunity to play for her. Now, I will say that she left after my freshman year. So I only played for 1 year. So when I went back to Iowa, I coached under my former head coach, but I did have her for 1 year. And shout out to Nadine Damone and Malika Willis, who are my teammates. They're on this call too, so they're in my sensational 7 class.
That's great. No, what was your major and intended career goal when you went to Iowa, Shannon?
I was a double major. I was in journalism as well as mass communications, and I was going to be the next Robin Roberts. That was it. I was sports broadcasting, had my name all over it, and I haven't used that degree since.
Okay. So, what are 3 takeaways you learned playing for Coach Stringer?
I would say the value of hard work. I remember my freshman year, I started in like the first couple of games, like exhibition games, mind you. I wouldn't say they were the real games. And she asked me, she said, "Do you know why you're starting?" And I said, "Absolutely not. Can you please share that with me?" Because I felt like in this class of 7, it was number 1 class in the country. I was number 8 in that class of 7. I just knew that they were so much better than me. And she said, "It's because you work hard." And she was going to reward those that worked hard and probably also teach the lessons to those that weren't, right? So I learned quickly that that will get me somewhere. And now I didn't maintain that starting position my freshman year, but I got to play. I would say number 2, if you know Coach Stringer, she's not the loudest person in the room. So there's something about quiet strength, and that you still can command authority and power, but you don't have to be that loud. I have a pretty quiet demeanor, but I still feel that you can command the respect and the authority that you need without being super loud. And then I would say it's not just about me. Coach Stringer was a trailblazer, is a trailblazer, and I know I have a responsibility to pave the way for those coming behind me.
Thank you. That's awesome. That was a great phrase, quiet strength, because that really was her.
I'm going to go ahead and move on to contemporary, your time with the Bruins here.
Yeah.
For those not familiar with them, please go through what passion plays are and how they're tracked and emphasized within the Bruin program.
Passion plays for us are the things that do not show up in a statistical category, like specifically a stat sheet, right? So it's those things that have a direct impact on the game, but again, they don't show up in the stat sheet. So for us, there are 7 categories that we track: 50-50 balls, out of area rebounds, no move needed, assist screens, assist box outs, charges, and deflections. So for us, we always know we want to get at least 75 passion plays a game. And we can tell by our pace after every quarter if we're on track for that, and has a direct correlation with how we're performing. So if we're not at the halfway mark, so to speak, at halftime, where we have 25 passion plays, it's going to show up in the score. It's pretty typical for us. We have rarely lost any games when we've reached our passion play goals. So it has a direct correlation. I actually have a video of our passion plays if you want to give me screen access, Matt.
Let's see here.
And I can show those.
Share screen. Share option. Okay, I think you should be okay.
Okay, let me pull this out.
So just go share screen on the bottom. Yeah, there you go.
Got it. So here, this is an example of our 50-50 balls, and that's just any loose ball that's available or off a rebound. It's getting who can get there first. Those are examples of it's equally anyone's ball, and we come up with it. Out of area rebounds pretty much speaks for itself, but it's that extra hustle to go track down a board that doesn't just come directly to you. No move needed. Turn and score. You're going to be in the war zone, as we call it, the war zone, or in the paint, low post area, and there's no move required to score the basketball. Assist screen is just what it is. Any screen leading to a basket. We all know charges. And excuse the feedback, my computer is running hot. So this is when obviously you're able to help someone get a rebound by boxing someone out. And again, these are all categories that will not show up in the stat sheet. It's really a great way to reward your players that aren't high point scorers or rebounders, but have a direct impact on the game. And then of course, deflections. And so at the end of every game, we actually have a passion player, because the stats are being tracked the entire game and giving them updates as the game goes along.
I'm glad those last couple clips had Cameron Brown in them, because I feel like she embodies passion plays. Like,
absolutely.
She's not a player that you're going to see in a normal box score that's just going to light it up and catch your eyes, but she makes so many winning plays.
She does.
You know, and she's just all about just helping and energy and just making the next tip or tap, deflection, just all those little things that can add up to winning. I just love that she was in there. Go ahead, Shannon.
For sure. And it's like, it just helps maintain the energy during the game too, because we can all get excited about the corner three or the big block or the awesome rebound, but when they have something else they know they're focusing on, you can celebrate those small plays too, right? The deflections, if someone gets a charge or someone hustles for a rebound, they know those are things that we really want to celebrate, and that's what we value. So it gives you more opportunity to celebrate more people. Then of course, when we have the passion player of the game and you see this video at the end of it, typically it shows who's the passion player for the game. And it's another opportunity to celebrate a player as well. And they change constantly. You know, some players show up bigger in some games rather than others, right? So it's great that it gives everyone an opportunity to participate and to be, I guess, celebrated and honored in the game as well.
Yep.
That's amazing. Who keeps track of that during the game?
Usually, honestly, a player that's injured. And so typically they're sitting next to maybe they're a player development or video coordinator. And so while they train them, they kind of just help them come along there. But usually it's a player and maybe someone on staff that's helping along the way.
Does one player do all the one person do all the categories then?
They kind of help, because the players have a vested interest in making sure we get to 75. So while they're sitting next to, say if it was Bren last year who didn't play, they're gonna say that was a deflection. Make sure you get that. So they're very invested in making sure that we get the right number. And then of course we watch film. They go back and watch the film, so the numbers can also be verified. Because sometimes they're a little generous on what out of area rebounds may look like, or it gets a little iffy. But they do definitely pay attention to those, because they have a vested interest in making sure they get the number.
Now, just a follow-up, Coach, that I don't know the answer to this actually. What is the origin story of passion plays? Like, where did they come from?
I don't know. Corey, are you available? I'm not sure. I see you on here. I'm not sure if you're able to chime in. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, I think it actually started, it sort of evolved over time, but the origination is really wanting to bring value, what Shannon already said, bring value to the non-statistical things. And it's one of, I think, 4 categories that we track in terms of, process of what we're really tracking for the game. And so it really was what Shannon said way more eloquently than I am, is that it was just a way to honor the things that we really thought led to winning plays, led to winning, but weren't celebrated in the stat sheet and usually didn't make the media.
Okay, so this is something that when you became head coach at UCLA, you kind of brought to the program. It is not, maybe there were origins at former programs you worked for, or you had ideas about it, but then you really implemented it at UCLA?
That to be honest with you, Matt, I don't even know if I can say that for sure. It may have started when I was at Florida State, and evolved as we came to UCLA. I can't even remember. I'm getting old, Matt. You're showcasing that, but I think that it definitely was something that we really tried to do. I remember our first year we had tons of we had injuries, we had difficulties. We knew we didn't have some of the talent yet, and it was a way for us to put all of the emphasis on the process and things under our control. I think that's what we really were trying to do. Is it was a way for us to build into our culture to value the process more than the outcome. And we believe that if you figure that out and you can sow seeds to that end, then you're actually going to get better outcomes in the end anyway.
Is there any penalty for not getting 75 passion plays?
Shannon, this is your deal, not mine.
It depends. I mean, the biggest penalty usually is that we don't win. Right. Sometimes we don't get our passion plays. It has a direct correlation to whether we win or lose the game. So it just really depends. But sometimes it could be, there are other categories we're tracking too. For example, defensive rebounding. We need to get 75% of the defensive rebounds, and then 50% game slippage, maybe 45% of the offensive rebounds. Now we do get penalized for that. There is some running or burpees or something involved after we complete the games of the weekend. So we typically hold them more accountable to those categories than anything. And also free throw box outs. We miss free throw box outs, we're running for those too. It's typically
bottom line though is they can earn an extra day off. If they hit all 4 categories in their game goals, they can earn an extra day off when it gets to Pac-12 play.
So again, highly motivated in those categories.
Ann Myers Drysdale has a raised hand.
Yes.
If you'd like to unmute yourself. There she is.
You're muted, Annie.
As Corey said, maybe it started at Florida State, but I think it started with Corey when she was a player at Santa Barbara. Having the opportunity to watch her play and broadcast her games, the passion, and obviously Shannon and I broadcasted your games too when you were at Iowa. But there's no question the kind of passion and intensity that Corey brought to the game as a player stayed with her as a coach. And to implement the passion plays for the UCLA Bruins, I think it's a wonderful piece to keep players involved. And even as you said, Shannon, the players that are injured, they're not only invested as players themselves as far as the plays, so as coaches. I mean, seeing what's happening.
Right.
So Corey, you've always had the passion.
Thank you, Annie. I'll pay you later.
I second that.
I don't need money. Just friendship.
Hey, so Shannon, can you now explain the concept of Bruins quote daily vitamins and give us maybe a brief overview of a typical preseason practice?
Yeah, I'll share my screen on that again as well.
Okay.
Can everyone see this here? Mm-hmm. So this would be an example of our daily vitamins. And in a nutshell, it's the specific skills that each individual player needs to work on. So we believe in having proficient, advanced, and elite skill. So proficient being very basic, dribble, pass, shoot. It could be now moving to advanced, it's what's needed more so for their position. And then elite would be what is that elite skill that each player brings to the table. It could be that they are elite 3-point shooter, mid-range jump shooter, low post scorer, leader. Each kid comes with something that's pretty unique and special to them. Now, our daily vitamins, again, they are designed specifically for each player, and we change them every, I'd say, 10 to 14 days based on how they're progressing. And so they fit into our offense as well. So we're making sure that it's a win-win. They're growing in specific skills they need for their game, but also it has a direct impact on how we're running our offense as well. So you see here for Kiki Rice, she's a freshman. There's a passing element, and this should be able to be completed within 15 to 18 minutes. So sometimes we will do this before practice starts, or we'll incorporate it inside of practice. So again, each maybe 10 to 14 days, we'll update this based on how they're progressing, what new offenses we have implemented into the system. But there's different elements for each kid. So for Kiki, she has passing, then some of her ball screen shots. We have get action within our offense, so just getting the ball kind of the elbow, and just her reads from that point on the floor. And then gun shooting, it's part of our gun offense, and just the reads out of that. So again, it's just a 15, 18-minute workout that each player gets that's specifically designed for them.
Now, it could be more than one player at a basket doing.
It could be. So we'll do that just depending on where we are. For example, we have a lot more space in Poly than we do in our practice facility. So then we will double up, and we'll pick a workout that's most conducive for those two players. So we typically will pair like players together. Okay. It'd be 2 point guards, 2 forwards, just very similar action. Or we could also just mix them up based on position, because maybe it's DHO reads, right? So we could get a post and guard together. But typically we pair them with like-minded players. Or like positions, I should say, not like-minded.
Thank you. Matthew, I think Dario has a question.
Okay, go ahead, Dario. Unmute yourself. Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm Coach Dario Frias, assistant coach at Cal State San Marcos, and also I used to run coaches hang time. Hopefully I could one day, but I just want to say on top of the daily vitamins, thank you to Coach Corey Close. We had her on our show, and that was a game changer for us. Last year, we implemented the daily vitamins. It gave our team purpose. For every day they came in, they had purpose, and before practice, they concentrate on the daily vitamins, and it was a game changer for us. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the coaches that are on here. If you can do that, take full advantage of that. It just takes a little extra time to kind of piece it all together for each individual player. We also implemented the visualization folders.
Oh, good.
That was huge. I mean, that was like our players were like, hey, coach, can you throw something in there for me? Or I'll put drills in there for them. And for us, I credit a lot of our success this past season due to the daily vitamins, the visualization folders. So thanks again for that, Coach Corey Close, and to the UCLA coaching staff for sharing that. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Thank you, Dario. I'll just follow up. In my time at UCLA, I got to see Mick with her, Michaela Onyenwere, with her daily vitamins, and I saw her really blossom into just a dominant Pac-12 player, and then of course an amazing WNBA player. Would you are there other players that come to your mind, Coach, that that their daily vitamins really transform their game? Any that you can think of off the top of your head, maybe aside from Mick? And I know you guys are really intentional with the skills that you're trying to build, something that will really translate to their game. Anybody that comes to mind? I know you've had a lot of great players and WNBA players come through in your time there.
Yeah, I think it's every WNBA player. I think all the ones that have made it, I think there is definitely a direct correlation. I think that just shout out to Coach Corey in terms of what she puts value on, and skill development is huge. She is not a coach that is not going to participate. She is going to have a lot to say about it, and rightfully so. She's talking to the WNBA coaches. She's seeing what they need, what they want, what they're looking for, and she's watching the games. She's watching a lot of basketball. She knows how the game is evolving constantly. So it's always been about training them for the next level. We find out quickly who has pro dreams, pro hopes, right? And we are making sure we're developing them accordingly, but also that our offense is designed that way as well. You can't say you want to go pro and then you're running these offenses that are outdated, and that's setting them up for failure to go to the next level. So I think of Michaela, as you said, and we actually went from like chin Princeton type of sets to motion offense during COVID before she went to the league the following year. And so that was a really hard transition. Of course, we were all on Zoom, and Coach Tony did an amazing job just implementing the motion offense. But Michaela was very, very hesitant. She was just like, I know, I've been doing this for 3 years. I know the chin looks, I know the gun looks, and you want to go motion, all this read and react. And it was like, this is a lot. But to her credit, she just adapted. She spent a lot of time watching film. Michaela is a film junkie. And when she got drafted to New York and she's practicing, she called, she's like, Coach, I was so prepared. Some of these players, I'm not going to name any names, which it was so obvious based on who was drafted, they don't know they're lost, and I'm not lost, and I feel totally prepared. So it wasn't just in the offensive side of things, it was also in the habits that she had created because of daily vitamins, because of how she'd been taught to train. And not only just taught to train, but how to recover. She knew how to, all of them knew how to take care of themselves physically, mentally, and emotionally once they left UCLA. So it's Jordan Canada, it's Kennedy Bird, it's Monique Billings. All of them were prepared, and I do think that the daily vitamins did help. And I'll say that some of them did it kicking and screaming, right? It's not like I want to come in here 20 minutes early before practice, but if you talk to Jordan, we have her actually in a video saying that was the one thing that really helped her. She learned the habit of showing up early and staying late. It was already a part of her, so that translated really easy into the next level.
That's awesome. Great examples too. Ann Myers-Drysdale, another comment and question?
You're muted, Annie.
Oh, you're muted. There you go.
How much of an influence is Coach John Wooden's pyramid of success with players?
Have you talked to Corey? Do you know Corey? You know. Yes.
Believe me, I know Corey, but I wanted you to share.
Yeah, just kidding. It's Corey is, she belongs to John Wooden, and we're thankful for it in terms of when we talk about the pyramid and looking at the base of it, with especially like the industriousness, right? And making sure that we are working hard. Everything that she says has an influence of John Wooden in it. It's just been updated. She's put her spin on things and her stamp on things, but the core of who she is in terms of how hard we work, how you treat your players, how you love on your players, how you value them as people, it has a heavy John Wooden influence on it. And honestly, that's why I'm here. I believed in Corey and the vision she had for this program. I had no hopes, no dreams, no desire to get back into coaching. And actually, the story is, and we actually agree on this story, it's not two different stories. I called Corey when I was in Bible college and wrapping up there, and I congratulated her on the UCLA job. And she said, do you have any interest in coaching? I said, absolutely not. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I had no interest in coaching. And she said, well, you just give me, a little time when we just talk about it. I'm like, I'll have a conversation. Let me get through my finals here. And so I decided to come out to LA. I was in Ohio at the time. And I said, I'd come out to LA and just, have a conversation. One, the recruiter was trying to recruit she was trying to recruit the recruiter. I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me. I walk into a restaurant with all my family there. I'm like, is she serious right now? This is not fair. So all my entire family is still in Los Angeles or in Southern California area. And so, of course, we talk about the job, and she's like, make your job description, like just create it. And I said, I really want to mentor. I really want to, that's my heart, that's my passion, is mentorship. I believe basketball is a means to an end. It's a vehicle. I love it. It's been a part of my life. It's done a lot for me, but it's still just a vehicle. And she said, great, got it. That's your job description. Name the price. Okay, done. And I'm like, I think I just got myself a job. And here I am 12 years later. It's because she has clarity of vision in her. She has heart for young people. And again, don't misunderstand me or her in terms of how competitive we are and how much we do desire to win. There's just a way that you win, and the priority is always setting up our young people for success after this game. So yeah, she definitely has been influenced by John Wooden, and I'm grateful for it.
That really is a good segue into the next question. What do you enjoy most about your job day to day?
Wearing blue and blue? Now, UCLA is a special place, but I would say it's being able to pour into the lives of our student athletes. That is it for me 100%. And again, I am thankful for the clarity of vision. Our mission is to teach, mentor, and equip young women for life beyond UCLA. And it's so easy to go to work knowing that that is the mission of the program, and there are no egos. Top to bottom, we're clear on that, and it's about these young people. So that makes it easy. Especially in the hard days, it makes it easy knowing that I can stay focused on that and let everything else fall by the wayside. I don't matter. We all shrink to, like, self just falls to the background. We're all going to submit to the mission of the program. So that is what I enjoy the most, is just helping young people become who they want to be. I remember telling Jordan Canada, excuse me, I said, what do you want to do? What are your goals? And she shared she wanted to be a top five draft pick in the league. And I said, okay. And we just sought out for that her entire career. But I told her, I said, my reward is when you make it. So to me, when all these, I don't care if it's in basketball, if a kid wants to go to business school, get into law school, whatever those dreams are, when their dreams come true, I feel like I made it. When they go on and make 2 to 3 times more than me, I made it. So that's, I think, the beauty and the joy of being in a program that values the total woman, and in developing the total woman. That's where I get my fulfillment.
I had a feeling that was the answer.
You know me, Matt.
I know you. Coach Matsuhara, do you have the next question? I'm sorry,
Yes.
I don't want to.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so Shannon, working under Corey Close as your head coach, what for you are 2 or 3 important attributes of Corey that you hope to take with you when you have your own program? I know you've touched upon some of it, about her passion and everything, but I just thought, maybe, is there anything specific that he implements or uses that you want to put in your suitcase and take with you?
I mean, there are a lot of things. One is making the assumption that I want to go have my own program, Colleen. But if I were to have my own program, from what I heard, it's not about me. I think that's the one thing that Corey is really good at. It's the clarity of the mission. I think that's really important. It gives people direction. She leads well that way. So I'm thankful for strong leadership. So that's one thing I would want to make sure, that I'm a good leader and a good manager of people. Hire to strengths and weaknesses. I think that would be the other thing, is she's really good at knowing what she's really strong at, and then what areas that she needs to manage. So she's just hired accordingly. Those would be my main. It's not about me, and the clarity of vision, and just hiring to my strengths and weaknesses.
So who are some of your other mentors that have helped you along your career path?
I think I had a lot of mentors I didn't know at the time. If it's, sometimes you can read a lot of good books. I think it's podcasts, it's all kinds of things that way that we can take for granted as mentors. I think it's every coach that I've coached for. I've taken something along the way from each coach that I've had the opportunity to work under. Felicia Hall Allen, she's pretty known on the women's basketball side. She's been good, and also a big sister from the University of Iowa. Teammates. I think anyone just really involved in the basketball community. I think you just have to have a heart of humility. Whenever I'm asked to speak or to do something, I'm just like, why do you want me? Like, I'm trying to learn and figure this thing out. So I think we got to stay students of the game, no matter what level you're at. So I think that's a part that's been helpful to me too, is just constantly trying to pick the brains of people that I think are just great, whether they are at D2 or mid-major or even some just players, like just being able to pick the brain of other people that love this game and just having the humility to learn from any and everyone.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Ebony Halliburton, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Hey, Shannon.
Hey,
Hey, well, I know when Matt worked at UCLA, he worked in a level of excellence that I really respected, but he really he respected you, and he really loved your gift of mentorship. So my question was on mentorship, and I know a couple of kids like Lauren Miller and uh, Amari Khan, I think her name, and like just so many kids that you poured into. Could you give us some tips on mentorship and some do's and don't of mentorship?
Oh, good question. And I open this up to anyone that's a coach that could offer. I think this is a great place to learn from each other. But I think mentorship, one, I'm thankful for the structure that we have that demands it of us. We're set up to make sure that we are mentoring our young people, so we're meeting on a weekly basis. I think when you are having those meetings, for example, I had 2 today, and they come into the office, and I come from behind my desk and I go sit alongside them. So it's not like coach talking at them, right? So I think I come alongside and really engage in how they're doing first. Before we jump into school and we jump into basketball, we got to check in with. I ask questions like, "How's your heart? How's your heart today? Are you being honest with me, or do you just don't want to talk about it?" You have the freedom to say no. Just trying to make sure that they know I care about them, whether they had a great practice or they didn't. I think it's very important along those lines to leave basketball on the court. We can't bring. We got to let it stay there. We're telling them to have a growth mindset and go to the next play. We can't pound it over their heads too. I think there's a time and place for that. Go back to the gym, right? The film is coming. We're going to watch the film, right? But I think there's a time to check in with them and make sure that they're good, that they're in a good space. So I definitely think if we can get to a place where it's comfortable, maybe even out of the office. I mean, Corey's notorious for having to go on ice cream dates with Charisma Osborne. You got to meet them where they're at sometimes. And you get to know them, their guard is down a little bit more. And I also think it's important that you share yourself a little bit with them. I think there's boundaries, right? We got to have professional boundaries, but it can't be that you're always asking of them, but they're not learning who you are. So I believe authenticity is huge too. And you can kind of show up where, this is where I've made mistakes, and I wasn't great at this today. I think that's another part of mentorship too, is that I don't have it perfect. I don't. I just may kind of be ahead of you in certain areas, but I think showing up authentically is huge, because this generation, they can sniff out some phoniness quick. And if you show up fake, they're not fooling with you at all. But if you can at least be honest and transparent, then I think you can kind of snatch their hearts a little bit, and then they'll listen to you and they'll hear you out. But what are some ideas that you guys have? I mean, I'm speaking really basic stuff that we all pretty much know, and sometimes just need to be reminded. But any other ideas out there?
Matthew Tyler has you got some hands up, Matthew?
Yep, go ahead. Steve Yang, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hey, Shannon, thank you so much for jumping on, and Matt and Colleen, appreciate y'all. I don't want to go back, because I do have a question. I was trying to ask a question about the whole passion play, so I'll come back to that.
Mm-hmm.
But for men and women's basketball, it's a little bit different.
It is.
When it comes to it. For me personally, I'm not saying this is right, but what I like to do is do a little FaceTime and open door meetings during office hours, whenever everyone's around. Yeah, I love to meet them where they're at, but it's just sometimes hard to meet them where they're at. I do connect well with a lot of my players right now. They do gravitate to me, and I have a wife and 3 kids, and but I always, from men out there, I always ask my head coach for his endorsement because I do work for a male boss,
Gotcha.
for his endorsement when it comes to mentoring or just talking to our players, even having to get together, we're all hang out, our assistants are around. So those are some things. I know for men it's a little bit different for mentorship. I love your answers, but it sits a little different for guys.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
I think Coach Tony does a really good job too. Like he's not the one that's going to probably be going out on these one-on-ones as much as we would, but he does have responsibility. Like we all meet with our players once a week, and he has like a dartboard in his office, and they'll come in and they'll throw darts, and they just kind of compete that way. He is really beloved by our players, and I think one time we had a session. We also do work with the Enneagram, so we had an Enneagram session, and he was just kind of open up and pouring out like what he thinks and how he feels, and the players were like, oh my gosh, like they were just like, we didn't know that, Coach, and that is so cool to know about you. And so then they built a connection off of simple things like that. Now that was in a more team environment, but he spoke up and shared his heart, and then all of a sudden there were connections that they can kind of springboard off of that. So I do see and can respect that it is different and it is harder. But the men, I believe there is a space, and I think we all have different opinions about this, but I think that it is great that when we have men on staff, because there is a different angle that we'll love, for our women to see too. So I'm thankful that, you are doing the work and that you are aware that it looks different, but you're still willing to do it.
Thanks, Steve. Great job. Great addition. Coach, let's see, Coach Frierson from Cal Poly. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Tyler Frierson. I am actually new to the whole coaching thing. I just graduated in May from University of Memphis. And so I kind of just have a question really. I know it's like a whole lot of coaches on here, but like, how do you guys, so like I said, I'm new to the coaching thing. So I have, seniors on the team we're like around the same age or the same age, if that. So how do you have that fine line? Like, okay, like we can be, you're still your coach, even though I'm a little older than you or we're the same age, but how do you, get that relationship to where they have to respect you and stuff like that?
Yeah. I keep snacks and candy in my office. Absolutely. That's definitely a winner. Great question and tough position. I think a lot of us, who else was in that position as a coach, where you're a young coach with young players? I had to coach my teammates at Iowa. So really, really hard. I think the one thing is we have one graduate transfer that's she's a GA for us right now, and another one that just graduated last year. And so they are around their teammates, but they're in paid positions. So I constantly remind them, you're picking up a paycheck. So your loyalty belongs it goes to the head coach. And continuing to have those conversations to mentor them through that. I think if you can have a mentor, someone that you really trust, that you can lean on and ask the question, I try to give them, and Sam, Corey, Tasha, anyone speak up if I'm missing any things in terms of how, or anyone else has an idea, advice on how to help with this. But I try to give some kind of help on boundaries. For example, I always say that if there's something that comes up that you feel you can handle it, handle it. If by chance you decided not to say something and later it's a problem, it's going to be an issue. So either you can handle it or you need to go and get an assistant coach to help you with this, because it's going to be a problem if it gets out and it's an issue. So I'm an assistant to Corey, and as assistants, we all try to keep stuff away from our head coach when possible, right? They have enough things to think about, enough things to process, and I have to be okay with if I couldn't handle it in a timely manner, or it was something that she really wanted to know, I gotta take the heat. I gotta take the blow for that. So if you don't want to take that heat, I suggest that you get some help. And after having that conversation, I started getting, hey coach, what do you think about this? Hey coach, what do you think about that? Because they weren't sure. And then I can help them navigate on how to handle it, because they are in tough roles. And you also want them to have that connection with the players, because what happens is sometimes the players forget you're in the room. The players forget that you're a coach. So we want them to keep talking and to keep running their mouths, so to speak. So we need that content, we need that information, and we need you to communicate in a way that's most comfortable with you. You're not going to sound like a coach, and that's okay. If our GAs, for example, not necessarily you, they don't sound like us, we don't need them to, but we need them to hold the standard in the same way we're asking the players to hold the standard. So we have to have that clear delineation. And so I think if you can get a mentor to help you through some of the hard stuff, that will be helpful. Any other tips for her? Yeah, it's okay to be, Corey's saying it's okay to be a friend to them, but it's not okay for the kids to be a friend to you or to meet your emotional needs. That's huge.
And Tyler, if you don't feel like you're comfortable at that line, you've got to say it. You've just got to visually and verbally say, I'm not comfortable where I am, because I was in your seat when I was at the University of Arkansas with Coach Blair, and I was 2 years removed from those players, and they thought I was supposed to be sister, homie, friend, and it created some friction.
Right.
Because if I got the joke or if I understood the music, Coach Blair would always say, you need to make sure you remember that you're on our side instead of the player's side. And so drawing that fine line for yourself and defining exactly where will the players see me as an assistant coach and where they see me as a friend. And you'll know it, you'll see it, it'll be in your gut, because you'll say, I'm not comfortable here. And just kind of finding those lines, and you're going to have to define yourself, and you'll do it slowly. You'll do it by incidences, and you might make mistakes. But the thing is, don't make the same mistake twice. And that's where those coaches will respect you more.
And I think it's also knowing that you add value, right? I think my brother just texted me on the side. He's like, I'm not a coach. He's actually like a correctional officer, but you fill a gap, especially like an age gap between coaches and the players. So you add great value in understanding that. I think that helps to define your role too. Like we call upon our young ones, and coach will say, hey, what do you think? Where are we missing it? When you were a player, how did this impact you, or how did this hit you? So you have a great value, and know that gap is there, and you can really feel it and help both directions.
Great point and great insight.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Thank y'all so much. I really needed that.
Man, and great questions too, coaches. Really awesome job. Before we get into all Q&A, we got just a couple more questions to get through for Coach LeBeauf. Shannon, what are the biggest challenges of this job in recruiting today's student athlete, would you say?
Parents. Let's see. I think they're just so multifaceted. They have diverse interests. It's not just basketball. We're in the age of NIL, and there's just a lot more to the current student athlete. So I think just that's the hard part. You got to, which ones are going to translate, right? You have all these interests. Which ones are actually going to translate as high Division I basketball players?
And then kind of a follow-up, can you talk about this NIL and the opportunity maybe that it represents for today's student athletes?
I think it's unprecedented, right? It's a tremendous opportunity, and the modern student athlete, like I said, just has so many interests, and I'm excited that they're able to be paid. Honestly, like, why not? Why not have this opportunity? I do think that they've been influencers and trendsetters for a long time. It's just now here's the opportunity to be compensated for that, and be able to make money and monetize on their name, their image, and their likeness. So I'm thankful. It's a lot to navigate. I think us coaches, we all know that it's not just basketball for us. It's not just, it's you're a coach, you're a mom, you're a father, you're just so many things. You're a psychologist, and now we're adding on NIL. And so it's becoming much more complex to be a coach. You can't just study basketball, you're studying so many other things just to be effective with today's student athlete. And UCLA has done an incredible job in Corey's. We had an NIL night just yesterday where we have someone working for us who handles all of our NIL stuff in our office, and he set up a I forgot the networking night for NIL and brought in vendors, and our players got to dress business casual and mingle around just with different vendors and different companies. And some we talked about it today, and they're excited about potential internship opportunities. She's like, Cameron, you talked about Cameron and Matt. She's like, forget the NIL. I want an internship. I need a mentor. And she's smart. She's thinking about 5-10 years from now, not just what she can get tomorrow. And that's been Corey's focus. It's not just about trying to give kids money right now, but it's to set them up for their future. And so it's not the pay for play model that we're kind of seeing as a consequence, I think, of legislation changing, but it's more so how do we set them up for success, and UCLA is positioned well to do that.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what Cam does, because she's going to kill it. Whatever she does, she's just
absolutely
going to knock it out of the park. Someone's going to get really lucky, whoever gets her. She's amazing, whatever she decides to do. Anyways, go ahead, Colleen, go ahead with your next
Shannon,
question.
What advice would you give your younger self?
I would get a mentor early, just one I can actually talk to and pick their brain. I would do that. I would tell myself that it's okay. Like you're doing just fine. I tend to be harder on myself, but I would remind myself that you're going to be okay. Everything works out just the way it's supposed to. I would tell myself to get a business degree or something, and to do Pilates because my hips are bothering me.
Good advice. Good advice.
Shannon, did you have surgery last summer on your hip? Was it last summer?
In June. Number 3.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Is it still bothering you?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But it's okay. It's okay. I'm still active. I'm still, I'm good. It's just more annoying than anything.
Yeah.
You're just not 25 anymore. I mean, that's the reality.
Well, Shannon, I think Matthew's going to start with the Q&A, but I just want to add this little side note, 2 notes. First of all, Corey, I don't know if you're still on, but everyone else, I've been to many UCLA practices and I love it. It's like a beehive of activity. Corey utilizes her staff, her assistants, they all have certain assignments. So it's just taken in like a whole, like I said, it's a beehive of activity. I love going there. I mean, I'm not coaching anymore, but I learned something, and I guess I'm still a little gym rat, but I really appreciate being able to come watch and see, the daily vitamins and all. Corey, you're just a great leader there for the Bruins. So continue, best of luck to all of you. And Shannon, I think your husband is on here, but I just want to tell everyone that 1 month from today, well, actually almost a month, Shannon is going to be an opponent of her husband because UCLA will be hosting UC Riverside, where her husband Sean is an assistant coach. So November 11th. So good luck to both of you. And can I just play just a little snippet of a song that's going to be appropriate for after the game? Okay, so it's Tower of Power.
Never really knowing why it had to be this way. Both sorry over nothing.
After the game, okay? Both sorry over nothing. So that's
got it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Colleen. Coaches, we'd like to open it up now to more Q&A. I mean, this has been a great session so far and a lot of great questions already, but if you've got more, now's the time to ask Coach. We got some raised hands. Dario?
Yeah. Hey, Coach. Just a quick question. If you're able to elaborate, talk a little bit about the book Master the Mindset? If you guys are doing this right now, currently as a team, how do you guys do it? And then I noticed you guys are using the flow journals. How do you guys use it on a daily basis or weekly? How does that work for you guys?
She's gonna be so mad at me. I may pay for this tomorrow. But Coach T, can you take that? She handles all of our mental training.
Okay.
Are you gonna unmute, Coach T?
Yeah, you're right. I'm gonna be mad at you. I hope you guys can hear me because I am actually in the car right now.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's great. We had a great session with Colin Henderson, who is our mindset coach, and he and I work together on this. But the flow journals that we're using is his book, and so in it we have pre-flow and post-flow. And so typically what we do before every practice is we have 10 minutes of mindset training. A couple minutes is visualization, where they're watching like a 5-minute clip of themselves doing something really well. And then it's another probably 8 minutes of some mindset work. So some sort of lesson, some sort of video. They have 2 journals. One is to keep notes of things that they learn through the lesson. And then the flow journals help kind of direct their focus and their intention. So we work a lot with the Hall method, and that's HAW, and it's I have, I am, I will. And so that book kind of helps them lay out those different things. And self-awareness, self-talk is big for us, and setting our intentions for the day is huge. And so that pre-flow asks them a couple questions about where they are mentally, and then what their intentions are for the day, who they are, some affirmations, and what they have in their control. And the post-flow, after it's over, kind of refers them back to their pre-flow and how did they accomplish what they said they would do? How do they feel about, the list that they listed as to what they would do that day? And then we also do some affirmations, because women usually leave the gym thinking about everything that they did poorly. And we want them, before they even exit the building, that they're thinking about the things that they did well. We're also finishing, Colin also has a book called Quiet Minds, and we've been working our way through that. I think we have about 2 chapters left. And essentially it's really getting them in what we call a flow state, which is, he always says, good thinking is good, bad thinking is bad, no thinking is best. So they're in this space where they're just authentically themselves, just playing and not mentally struggling with anything. And so Quiet Minds gives them the tools to really get themselves to that state where they're just playing. And so essentially that's what this is. All of the mental training that we do is about, is to teach them the tools to reset themselves, to get themselves back to a neutral state, a flow state, where they're just playing.
Do you do that on the road? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Yes.
No, thank you for sharing that. I know I got the Master Your Mindset and the Flow Journal coming in tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to diving into that. And Coach Brown, that was a great, your Twitter, I think Coach Close put that out there the other day. You talking about the preparedness, the opportunity. That was great. Good job.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tasha.
You're right, Tyler. Chop Wood, Carry Water is an excellent book. We actually have every player, our freshmen, coming in. So everyone has read that book. That's a part of our program. So they'll go through that book in the summer as a foundational piece for our program. Chop Wood, Carry Water by Joshua Metcalf.
Also, the 4 Agreements too is another good one if you guys are looking for books. We used to read it every summer, and then she'll get us together in groups and we'll do a presentation. Every group will have an agreement, you have to go in depth about your agreement and how you can use it in everyday lives and basketball as well. So.
Looks like Steve has a question.
Awesome. Yeah, Steve.
All right. Okay. So going back to the passion plays and all that, do y'all stat that during practice, or like how do y'all? I know I heard Corey talk about incentives for getting the day off and whatnot, but like I guess in today's day and age, fighting like trying to get most out of these kids, even during a period of practice and all that. Are there like developments that y'all do for charges? Some people do charge drills, workouts, whatever. Even deflections or assistant box out and all that. Are there things y'all do for that, or y'all just hope that they're motivated by the incentives to do that?
We haven't talked about passion plays yet. That's probably my guess coming up. We have a scrimmage this weekend, a close scrimmage. So I'm sure that's going to be coming up next within probably the end of the week is my guess, because our freshmen, we have 5 freshmen and also 3 people that did not play last year. So there's enough to focus on and to think about right now, but we'll start to implement that within the next couple of days. So it will be a part of practice. We stat almost everything. So that's going to be coming up next as well. But one thing we do not really break down do drills for our charges. Everything else we will break down, but we do celebrate charges and we'll teach kids how to take them, but we don't just drill that. So we feel like every drill that we do has a purpose. So if we're doing shooting, but every shooting drill is still a passing and a rebounding drill. So we're always adamant about making sure that everything what we're doing has a purpose. Every screen, we're doing a shooting drill, the screen is important. So we put a lot of emphasis on them locking in and focusing in on all the skills that are involved in that drill. And yes, that does cover the assist box outs, the assist screens. It starts to cover all those things. We talk about sprinting in transition to the middle of the RA. Go get a no move needed by sprinting there and not just a foot outside the block. So I think it's the attention to details that lead to the passion plays that we really emphasize.
I had another question. So Shannon, like with Coach Close serving her at UCLA, what are some things that you are intentional about in serving your head coach?
Oh, great question. I am intentional about trying to put out fires. It's what are all the little things that I can help alleviate so that she can focus on basketball. I think head coaches are drawn in many directions, and sometimes basketball gets squeezed out of that if it's fundraising, if it's donor relationships, if it's administration. There's so many other areas that we have no idea what they're dealing with. So I try to put out those fires, be it with the players, be it with the staff, trying to be your spokesperson, so to speak, when I can. And also, if it's not a fire, it's helping to prevent one. Like, hey, go have this conversation with this kid, or you may need to meet with this kid, or go talk to that staff member. So having a pulse of the program, I think, is how I serve her best, and trying to position her to be A, freed up, and B, highly connected with everyone within the program.
And I agree with Coach. She wrote in there, you do an incredible job, and I completely agree from having been there for 2 years. I think you do a fantastic job, Shannon. Any other questions for Coach here while we have her? Any hands? All right. Well, I'd like to say thank you for our wonderful guest, Coach Shannon LeBeauf. This is, and all the coaches that came on and shared as well. I mean, this was a fantastic group, and we had just a great discussion. Shannon brought wonderful points, and then great questions were asked. It was just fantastic, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate everyone coming on and for Coach LeBeauf to spend some time with us today. Colleen, do you have some closing words as well?
Well, I also want to thank not only Shannon, but also for Corey and Tasha to join in and give us their input also. And really appreciate that. And for those of you who have not been able to go watch UCLA practice, I really recommend it. You'll learn a lot and they just make you feel so welcome. I mean, they even give me a bottle of water. And I also want to thank Trisha Cullip and Karen Tesmer, way out of your time zone, but thanks for joining our growth mindset as well as everyone else. Oh, and Chris Burnett is in North Carolina, so thanks for staying up. And Shannon, you know how long it's taken me to get you to finally get you on here. Thank you very much.
That's not true, Colleen. I think we also got to shout out Stacy McIntyre's on the call. We work with Stacy back at USC.
Yeah, Stacy.
Yes, Stacy. I've been on her forever too. But yeah, we had some real comical things. I'll tell you one last story and then everyone could go. So when I worked at USC, Shannon, her desk and my desk faced each other. And Shannon would have a pile of, at that time, videotapes of student athletes. And one day she said, "Can you help me out?" I said, "Well, what do you need?" She says, "Can you watch one of these tapes for me?" I said, "Give me a couple." So she reaches across, hands me like 4 of them. So I stick it in there for maybe all 1.5 to 2 minutes. And you can usually tell. So I just looked at it real quick, and about 20 minutes later, I handed it back to her. I said, none of them could play. She goes, "You done?" I said, "Yeah, who told you to watch the whole game?" So anyway, that was I don't know if you ever knew I did that, Shannon, but.
Now they're just links to games.
Yeah, right. But I mean, those days we had those stupid VCRs and all that other stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording now, and then people are welcome to hang on and chat and catch up.